Serving their community is who they are because they love where they live. REMAX 3D Real Estate is proud to bring you Heart of Greenville, a video series dedicated to celebrating all the wonderfully great things about Greenville, Texas. On every episode, Dennisha Denny will share Greenville's story through the stories of people who call Greenville home. This is Heart of Greenville.
Thank you so much for watching Heart of Greenville. Our show would not be possible without our sponsors, REMAX 3D Real Estate and Triton Networks. REMAX 3D Real Estate is here to serve you for all of your buying or selling needs. Triton Networks are here for our business community, where they put together your internet, phone system, and networking all in one place for a one-stop shop. Our guest today is Mr. Greg Sims. He's our CEO and president of our EDC. Greg has done so much for our community, and I really wanted you to get to meet him and get to know him. He has a really cool story that I think you're going to want to hear. Here's my conversation with Greg Sims. Hey y'all, I'm Dennisha Denny, your host of Heart of Greenville, and today we're sitting down at the landmark on Lee Street on the 3rd floor at The Landing. And I have a very special guest with me today. It's our CEO and president of our Economic Development Organization, Mr. Greg Sims. How are you today, Greg?
How are you? Good. Good to see you, Dennisha.
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for agreeing to sit down with me.
Sure.
I know we were planning to do it last month, and then you were under the weather, and so
I was under the weather.
I appreciated that you rescheduled.
Yeah, you didn't want me here. So.
Yeah, no. Are you feeling better then?
I'm feeling great. Yeah, 100%.
Great.
So.
Well, I'm so glad we were able to sit down and do this. I want to get to know your story. I know a lot of the great things you've done in our community to help bring people here, but I want people, when we finish this, to get to know who you are. So let's hear the Greg story.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, from a Hunt County perspective, I mean, my grandmother was born in Scattered Branch in 1902.
Wow.
And so she and my grandfather were married January 1st, 1925 on the Hunt County courthouse steps.
Really?
Yeah, so that takes me back a long way. So I've got a lot of family, old family from Commerce, a lot of family, buried up there. And then before all that, before I came here, I was doing some family ancestry research, and I found out my mother's side of the family got to Hunt County in about the 1820s. And so in the middle of Forest Park, there's a group of our ancestors. My great-great-great-grandparents are buried there on my mother's side. And so, it is a long time history for Hunt County. But I didn't grow up here. I grew up in the Garland area.
Okay, I was thinking that. I didn't think you grew up actually
Yeah.
in Hunt County.
So, I grew up there, went to through grade school there and middle school, then South Garland High School, and then went from there to Richland College for a couple of years in junior college, and then University of North Texas, graduated there, a real estate major.
Okay, I was going to say, when you graduated from high school, what was your major? What were you planning on doing?
Well, I planned on going in the family business. Our family, my dad had his own real estate development company.
Okay.
So he's always been in commercial real estate his whole career. So that was the plan, is to go into business with Dad and work for his company. And so, but that was many recessions ago.
Yes.
So, recessions have affected real estate people a lot of different ways.
For sure.
But anyway, finished that, and then married my high school sweetheart, my wife, 32 years, Tammy.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And so, both of us, had one daughter that we now raised. She's 24. But, we've been really on a softball field half our life because she played softball and ended up playing for University of Missouri at Kansas City, where she got recruited out of high school to play in Kansas City in Division I in the WAC.
Wow.
And then she got injured after her second year, had ankle surgery, and then we brought her back home, and then she tried out for A&M Commerce, and then finished up there, a couple years ago at A&M Commerce, and brag on her a minute. She hit 38 home runs at A&M Commerce. So,
whoa,
she was a big player for them, which we were thrilled because it was close to home, and we love A&M Commerce and the Lions, and they were so nice to her and us as a family. And then it was great because I worked here. I could go 15 minutes to the game.
Right.
And so, and then eventually they helped her with their grad assistant, and she got her master's. And so now she is just hired the assistant coach for Tyler Junior College softball coach. So we're thrilled about that. But Tammy,
I wondered if she was going to stay in that
She is.
industry.
That's what she wants to do herself. And And then my wife has worked 31 years at Medical City, Dallas.
Oh.
And so she's in the HR department at Medical City.
Oh,
And
bless her heart. How's it been for her
terrible,
through COVID?
terrible.
I mean,
It's been awful. I can't, I could tell you more stories, but you don't want to hear them. And they're bad, But anyway,
bless her heart.
yeah.
What
And
keeps
so
her going back?
her dedication to her job, I mean, she gets up at 5 a.m. and doesn't get home till, 8, 9.
Really?
Tonight they got to do rounding at the hospital. She won't get home till about 11. So I have to go visit all the departments in the department. She has about 1,000 employees under her.
Wow.
That send her emails about all kinds of HR problems you can think of. Everything you can think of.
I can't even imagine.
And so, but anyway, I've been spending my career in and around commercial real estate. Worked for my father's firm. We had 100 employees at one time in Charlotte, Raleigh, and Dallas back when I was a very young man. And then the recession took Dad out of that business and took me out of that business.
What year was that time frame?
That was about 1990.
Okay.
Yeah.
During that.
And so, about 1990.
recession.
And so 91, I ended up coming back. I was in Charlotte. I went to work for him in Charlotte, North Carolina, and then came back here. I was out there a couple of years and came back here and just trying to find a job because real estate, nobody wanted to hire. I mean, number one, there wasn't a lot of jobs, period. Number two, it wasn't like today.
Right.
And number two, there were real estate people, a ton of real estate people out of jobs. And you couldn't sell anything. You couldn't be a broker because that was during the RTC days and saving loans crisis. And
Right.
real estate was terrible. I mean, it was awful. And so I answered an ad in the paper for Harold Simmons, which is the Simmons family. Was a billionaire in Dallas, and they had a corporate real estate position, and they ended up. Luckily, I got hired, but there's 500 applications. They tell me, I was 26 years old, so and so I didn't care what it was. I just want to work,
You have a job.
Yeah, and so did that for a couple of years, and then.
And what did you do for them specifically?
I worked in the corporate real estate department. We had 7 holding companies underneath the corporate department. And all the junk real estate in the holding companies flowed to our department for either disposal, management, liquidation. So we got everything from when a corporation bought an employee's house to move him somewhere else, that house got shipped over to us. Or a truck terminal in Hobbs, New Mexico that was not in use, but they needed to dispose of it. Or, land in Sedalia, Missouri. I had to go over to Missouri. To list with a broker to get rid of it.
Right.
So I mean, it was just I was all over the country doing stuff like that. It was a good learning experience. And then doing things for the Simmons Family Trust. We had certain things we did for them for the family, and so it was very, very educational. That was my master's degree, I think.
Okay.
I got a bachelor's in real estate from North Texas, UNT.
Right.
But that was my master's on the job training.
On the job training.
On the job
That's
training
the best
masters.
way
Yeah, I'm
sometimes.
telling you. And so, but anyway, ended up, I got out of that and went into work for Marcus and Millichap. I was
Yes.
an investment real estate broker during the height of the RTC and the FDIC time, trying to make money as a young man. It was very difficult. I did that for about a year, and I couldn't make any money at all. I'm like, I can't live like this. My wife's telling me, you got to get a job, so I can't be a real estate person. And so I ended up, luckily, being hired by a company called Tanger Outlet Center. I don't know if you've heard of it in Terrell,
yes,
Texas.
There's one in Terrell. Yes.
Yeah. So when I got hired by Tanger Outlet Center, which was a REIT, a real estate investment trust, if you know what that is.
Yes, sir.
And so Tanger hired me to be their first general manager and property manager of a shopping center that was to be built in Terrell, Texas. And so I went to Charlotte, North Carolina again to interview. Got hired. They sent me back here, and then I was there from construction for a couple of years and running that shopping center.
Oh wow!
And
So you
so-
helped build that?
Help guide it. Well, manage the contractors and all the
Right.
tenant move-ins, and then had to manage the marketing of it, and then the property management. I had a team of property managers. I had an assistant manager, managed the whole shopping center. Did that for a couple of years, and then an economic development opportunity came up in Garland, Texas, and they called me, and they knew about me, and so they said, "Hey, would you interview?" I said, "Sure, I'll come over and interview," and got a raise, became the business retention development officer underneath the president there, and then worked 10 years in Garland in economic development.
Wow.
So we were the seventh largest manufacturing city in the state.
Really?
So,
I didn't realize there was that much manufacturing in
there
Garland.
was, yeah. And so I got to learn a lot about manufacturing, and then learned a lot about retail business as well, because I got to work on Firewall Town Center when it got developed. I got to work on the new DART stations that opened up in Garland. George Bush, I was on the committee for George Bush. I got to work on Bass Pro Shop development. I got that idea from going to Kemah Boardwalk 1 year down in Houston. Have you ever been to Kemah?
I haven't been to Kemah.
And go to Kemah. And they've got they got a hotel and several restaurants. The Landry Corporation.
Oh, yes.
It's on the Houston Ship Channel.
Okay.
And so all the yachts and things come out of Houston and go right through Kemah. And so they have a carnival atmosphere down there. It's owned by the Landry Corporation, and Tillman Fertitta's company developed Kemah. And I got that idea about doing the Bass Pro Shop development from Kemah. So I came back to Garland and created this presentation on how to develop the peninsula, we called it then, pre-Bass Pro, into a Kemah Boardwalk-like development. And so I ended up finding the developers to do that. And then we pitched Bass Pro Shop, which wasn't coming there. They were going to Grapevine. I mean, they had one in Grapevine, and they were going to McKinney.
Oh.
And so I was able to win them out over McKinney, and then we put them in Garland, and then the rest is history there.
That's so cool. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Obviously, I didn't know you were a part of that. But that's such a cool. Like, you go to that Bass Pro, and you don't feel like you're really still in Texas.
No.
I mean, it's a really cool experience.
Tell you, interesting. Yeah, it is. And Johnny Morris, the founder of that, got to go to, his home headquarters there in Missouri and meet with him. And the funny thing about that, that store is he always looks at the sites before you even know he's looking at it, about 2 or 3 times before he approves it, that you're going to win the project. And thankfully, he came down and looked at it secretly like 2 or 3 times. But the other funny story about that is when Bass Pro Shop was being developed, it was the only thing being developed on that site. We had to pass a $24 million bond package public referendum to allow for that to happen through a TIF. The TIF was all of Interstate 30 to help pay for infrastructure, things related to the Bass Pro Shop development, and the restaurants, and sooner or later the hotel came later. But anyway, the funny story is the Bass Pro Shop was being developed, and the roof was being put on. It was already put on, okay, but nothing on the inside. So Johnny Morris walks through the front door just in his normal inspection. He hadn't been there in probably 6-7 months, because it was under construction.
Right.
He walks in the front door, and if you've been there, the staircase that goes down?
Yes.
Okay, that wasn't the original thing. It had an escalator that went down from the first floor, and you rode an escalator down and rode it up. And it had the elevator. And he looked around, and he went, "What is that?" They said, "That's an escalator." He goes, "Not in my store. How did that get in my store?" He didn't even know about it.
Oh, no.
And he approved the plans. He signed the plans and didn't notice the escalator in his store.
No.
He goes, "We are a hunting and fishing store, and we're not a department store, and I'm not having an escalator in my store."
How funny.
Yeah. And they went, Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
You know how much that escalator cost?
I cannot imagine.
About $200,000.
Does it really? And it was already installed.
Well, that was
and
then.
everything.
That was like
True.
15 years ago.
Wow.
And so he said, "I want it out, I want it gone." So the contractor and the architect and engineer all pointing fingers and blaming each other. "Hey, it's your fault, your fault, your fault." And anyway, the bottom line is they had to remove it. And so they came out there. The contractor cut a hole in the roof that's already finished, and they lifted a crane down inside, and they had to cut a big enough hole they could put a crane in the middle of the building and pull the escalator out.
No way.
Yeah, and repair the roof, and they put in the staircase that you said today.
Oh my goodness.
So nobody knows that story.
That's a great story.
Yeah, so
I'm so glad you shared that.
Yeah,
but
so
those stairs go down and turn.
They do turn.
Did the
yeah.
escalator turn like that too? Or did
No,
they
it
have
just
to
went straight
reconfigure
down.
that?
It just went straight down into
my
the boating
goodness.
area.
I can't imagine what that costs to undo that
Oh,
and redo it.
and then they had to get rid of the escalator. They already bought it.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, how do we do this?
Is there a big resale market for escalators?
Yeah. So it's a funny story there, but I've got
funny story.
I got more stories than you have time to listen about. But anyway, so got in, in economic development there, did that 10 years, and then left there and went to work with my father, and he was doing real estate development business on his own, officing out of his house, and he had built several things in the Rockwall area, and I helped him build, there's a company called SPR Packaging in Rockwall. We helped land that there and build that facility. Some other things he did, Falcon Wire, and so he did some things in Greenville here before I got here. And so, I helped him for a while, and then I had another friend of mine call me. That was when banking really was at the height. Hey, banking, they were making a ton of money back in the 90s and early 2000s. And I got a call from another friend. Hey, you want to come to work for a boutique bank? You can be employee number 15. Oh. I said, hey, that sounds pretty good. I've never been a banker before.
Right.
And they said, oh, you don't worry about it. We don't hire you as a real estate loan officer. You know real estate, don't you? I said, yeah, I know real estate. He said, we'll teach you the banking business. So I went to work for a boutique bank in the Park Cities. The Highlands Bank is what it was called. And it was around Preston and Northwest Highway. And so I did that for a couple of years and learned banking. And then the crap hit the fan and the floor dropped out. And that was when we all thought the whole world financial world was going to collapse. Yes. And I had to get out of banking because they didn't need any loan officers, so they weren't making loans.
Right. What was it like? Those are different markets. It's real estate, but doing
it
mortgages
was scary.
and development are
It was
different.
scary. I didn't know a whole lot about banking, but I did know real estate. But after 2 years into this, the banking experience, I'm walking around and seeing these 25, 30-year seasoned banking veterans who helped start the bank. And they're running around here scared to death that they're fixing to lose all their money, that the whole financial system of the United States are going to collapse. Yes. And I'm like, dang, if these guys are this scared, these guys are seasoned.
They're really, yes.
I said, we are in bad shape. And so, wasn't too much long after that, they got rid of most of the employees. The bank had to be bought out by the investors who started the bank. They were Guarantee Bank original guys who started it. Okay. And so it eventually got bought out by other banks, and it just got wrapped up, and we were I had to go find a job again. Right. So
did it ever recover?
No. Well, those assets and then just got absorbed by another bank. They just another bank bought them, and it just eventually is just gone. The Highland Bank's not there anymore, but but anyway, I did that. I said I got to find a job again. So ended up. Luckily, again, we're talking another recession, probably depression, and there was no for-profit real estate jobs. No, I'm back. I'm like, crap. I'm in the real estate business again, and there's no jobs, and can't sell anything again because nobody's making any loans. So it's like it was very tough. Yes. So I called a buddy of mine in McKinney. And David Pitstick, who was the CEO there, I'd known him for 20-something years. I knew him back when I worked in Garland. And David, I called him and said, hey, man, I said, I really need to get a job. And he goes, you know what? He said, I need a business development, business retention person, like John Dixon who works for me. I need that position. He goes, and he said, but you're way more experienced than we need. And I look, I said, well, listen, I said, I just need a job. Right. He goes, he said, I'll pay you X. And I said, he goes, I can afford, my budget is X. It was 50%. It was half of what I made as a banker. Oh, wow. And I told him, I said, I'll take it. I got to have a job. Yeah. So, because we had a mortgage, I had a house, I had, Tammy at home, I had Bree in school. I was like, I got to get a job. Right. And so I went to work there for McKinney Economic Development 2 years. And then David retired during those 2 years. And then another guy that worked in the office was there a lot longer than I was, Jim Young. He became the CEO. And Jim and I were good friends and everything. And this job over here opened up. I got called from a headhunter that the Board of Development had hired in 2011. And they called me and said, would you like to interview for the president CEO position? I said, sure. I went and talked to Jim, told him what I was doing. He said, absolutely, go interview. He said, man, we all understand we all got to go up somewhere. Right. So I got here in 2011. Luckily they hired me, so.
I didn't know you'd been here 10 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's been great fun. We've had a lot of stuff here.
You have. I mean, man, we look so different.
That's it. We can close at that, right?
No, girl, we have more. We have more.
Okay.
Oh, wow. I really didn't realize it had been 10 years.
It's been 10
You
years.
have done so much in those 10 years.
Thank you. Yeah, our team has. It's been a group effort by the council, our board, great councils.
So where do you see us going in the next 5 to 10 years?
Oh my gosh, we're probably going to go places some people maybe don't want to go, and that's more traffic, and unfortunately growth, when you're growing, you're going to get more cars, more people.
Right.
But I see it as a good thing because, if you look at, you're looking at the families that are coming. I'm looking at some of the reports that are being done about some of the families that are moving here, have not been here before. They're not Greenville people.
Right.
And they're bringing young families, and they're bringing great jobs, and they have money, and they can buy, great houses, and they want to raise their family in a great family place, which I've been told by a bunch of outsiders, and of course, I've come to learn it as well. Greenville's a great place to raise a family.
It is.
It's fantastic. So they figure that out,
Yes.
and so I see it's really good on the horizon. I see us, being a much wealthier community. Not only the Greenville people who live in Greenville, but what's around Greenville.
Yes.
I mean, we had a report, it was about a month ago, a residential strategies report, that if you take the western city limits of Greenville, which is around, Monty Stratton, okay, and you go down Interstate 30, and you go to the county line, which is basically Buc-ee's.
Right.
15 miles. If you go north and south and look at all the property north and south in that area, okay, as far as, I guess, maybe up to, not Nevada, but what's that little town?
Josephine?
Josephine, yeah, up in that area, all the way down south the Union Valley, all through that area. There's 18,000 new homes permitted to be built. 18,000.
That's incredible.
When you go 2.4 people per home, basically, I mean, that's the multiplier. That's a little city.
That is.
That's 36, about 30,000 people.
I mean, that's almost the size of Greenville.
I know. It's going to pop up right there in the next 5 to 6, 7, 8 years if interest rates hold steady.
Right.
I mean, you're talking a city
That's huge.
right next to Greenville.
Right.
So all of a sudden, Greenville, we have a suburb.
Yes.
That suburb is west of Greenville.
Isn't that crazy?
Isn't that crazy?
That?
We're going to have a suburb.
Yes.
And so
it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think we all have to wrap our mind around that. Now we just need to decide how we want to look.
We do, and the market has a lot to say about that. And the biggest challenge we have is are we going to have the tale of two cities? Are we going to have all the employment and retail pop up over here, or is it going to occur here? We got a head start on all that's new that's coming. And so to build on the momentum of what we already have is the challenge. And every, if you want to talk retail development, every retailer, grocery store, entertainment, restaurant, whatever, once things start to happen, they follow rooftops no matter where they're at.
Right.
And they follow wealthy rooftops. So the higher income, disposable income they have, that's where they want to be.
Right.
And so, we got to constantly compete with sites on that. It's going to get a lot more later down the road as things develop on the western side. It will be a lot more competition.
One of the things I've been seeing over the last year is people coming and looking at between 500,000 and $1 million. And we have not just one or two people a year, tons of people that are in that price point, and we're missing that.
When do you remember that happening ever?
Never. I've been here all of my life.
Yeah.
Never. I mean, we were so excited if someone wanted to spend 500,000, we kind of didn't know what to do with them, and now when we have properties on the market, we have multiple offers, and a lot of times it's cash.
Yeah.
And those are people who want to be here
They
and a
want
part
to
of
be
our
here.
community.
Yeah, and then they have disposable income
Yes.
that goes into our small businesses. That really is the whole impetus of why we do economic development really is for small business.
Yes.
Everything we do is supposed to create a multiplier effect for small business, your mom and pop businesses, because that's really why economic development laws were created in the first place.
Really? I didn't realize that. And we do appreciate that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
For sure. Okay, well, we could talk forever. I figured out now, you and I, we could just keep on talking and
Yeah,
talking. And
sure.
I have a million questions I want to ask, but
Sure.
we're trying to keep it to a 30-minute time frame.
Okay.
I want to take just a quick minute and talk about what you personally love about Greenville.
Oh,
I know that you get to sell us every day, all the time.
I know.
But what are things that you love?
I love a lot of things about Greenville. Number one, the people. It's great people here.
Yeah.
They're so welcoming. You know, we don't have, you know, pretentiousness. We have people who love life, love their families, and, you know, which I really like is we pray at our board meetings, you know, and our city council
awesome.
meetings. You don't see that in the Metroplex. You know,
true.
I really like that part of it.
Yes.
And so, you know, it's the people that make the difference. And we're so resilient because, you know, we've been punched in the mouth. Greenville's been punched in the mouth a bunch of times, and, you know, right now, especially too with the COVID, and we just keep coming back. So it is a city and a county and a people out here that are very resilient and very persevering.
Yes.
Those are two words I would say that really sum up for me. That's what I love about it.
I agree. And you know, from your history, you've been knocked down and you always stand back up.
You know,
And you're
what else is there
leading
to
the
do?
charge. Exactly.
I'm not going to turn around and go to the fishing pond.
That's right. I love that though. But that keeps that drive and that fire in you, and you know what to do.
Well, I'm very competitive, you know, and so I hate to lose. You know, I think you got to have that mentality in our business, in the economic development business, you know, and having worked half of my career in the private sector, I think helps me in my public sector because it does remind you, you know, folks like you who are, you know, dog eat dog every day, you know, that, hey, you know, what we do matters and that, you know, we're just not collecting a paycheck. You know, we need to perform. We need to get deals done. You know, again, you know, what we do has trickle-down effect, both in jobs, tax base, and, you know, company just coming in and investing in the community through charitable giving or whatever they have to give, and they hire our families. Our families produce our children who go to our schools, who then spend money in the retail stores, you know, so it all comes around. So
it does. Now, you also hold a position within one of your organizations. You're the chairman. Which organization is that?
Yeah, it's this is our 60th year anniversary of our state Texas Economic Development Association, and it's Texas Economic Development Corporation of the state of Texas, and it was formed 60 years ago this year. And this year, I had to wait 7 years actually to get the chairmanship. So you have to be in you have to be in rotation on the board and the officers of the state organization. But this year was my year. Me and the guy last year were considered the COVID chairman. So, you know, it's terrible, but
who knew you were going to have that
who
title?
knew it? You know, who knew it? You know, only get to go to, you know, one annual conference in person, and then you have to do the rest by Zoom, which is terrible.
Oh, I know.
But yes.
Well, thank you for that, and what an honor to get to serve in that capacity.
It's a big honor. It sure is. Yeah, I mean, to the whole state, as economic developers are great everywhere you go, all across the state. They're so upbeat and positive, right?
Yes.
And here's the other thing: none of them have a vote in anything.
Right.
Their whole job is just to make the city better. Go out and find a project, try to bring it back, and try to, you know, help sell the deal so that maybe somebody votes on it. You know, they have no vote in the process. They have really rarely they have any decision making. You know, but you know sometimes they get a blame for things, and you know it's not their fault. You know, companies fold, and companies are a big success. But you know, I try to be. You know, to me, again, we don't have a vote, but you know, I think the ones who deserve the credit are definitely our board, our city council. You know, we have a great group for all our taxing entities from the school board. I can't tell you how much the school board's helped us in economic development. I mean, it's tremendous. And, you know,
those two are so important.
They are in the hospital board, and we're all interlinked through the tax base, you know, but everybody's so supportive, you know, about let's grow our community. That's what's great.
I think you have the best office in all of Hunt County.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
At the top floor of the Exchange
It
building.
is, yeah. That was there, I don't know, I guess it's been there 15 years maybe. A lot longer than I've been here.
Mm-hmm.
And that building was built in 1929. You know, and it has some challenges being that old, you know.
Right.
You've got challenges, but, you know, at the same time, you know, we've closed a lot of deals up there.
Yeah.
People love going up there, and, you know,
It's
we
really
have a
cool. It has
thank
a cool
you, yeah.
vibe.
It does, you know, and
Were you the one that took the picture of the rainbow over
I
downtown
did.
when John Horn passed away?
I did, yeah. I took that picture, out my window, my office window that day, and and the clock was at 5 o'clock, and I saw the rainbow, and I took the picture. Sure did. I sent it to Julie.
Yes, it
Yeah.
was such a peaceful picture. So
I
I
know.
stole your picture.
Okay.
And I had it printed on a pillow.
Oh,
And I
awesome.
gave it to Julie. And at the
Awesome.
bottom I wrote, "Love, John."
I love that.
And
I love that.
That picture touched my heart so much. It was such a peaceful thing that represented John. It was
It
almost like
was.
he was shining down on us saying,
I
I'm okay,
agree.
and you're going to be okay.
I agree with
to our
that.
county.
Absolutely. Yeah. I just happened to walk by the window. I went, oh my gosh. It was 5 o'clock.
And it's 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
And John liked 5 o'clock.
Yeah. I'm like, and there's that rainbow. I'm like, God dang, I got to take a picture of that
Yeah.
and send to Julie.
It's priceless. It's
It
a
is priceless.
picture. Okay, Greg, it's time to wind down. I told you at the beginning you were gonna pick a number between 1 and 20, and I'm gonna give you your random question.
Okay. This could turn out bad.
Let's see what do you want?
Oh, was it 1 and 20?
You tell me a number between 1 and 20.
Okay,
and
let's
that's gonna
pick
give
let's
you that
pick
question.
10 since I've been here 10 years. How about that?
Okay, that's perfect. If you had the world's attention for 30 seconds, what would you say?
I would say love your neighbor
Yes.
as yourself. And let's all hope and pray that all of us will have a better day. How about that?
I love it. Yes, that's great. You know, man, if we will just love our neighbor as we love ourselves, it solves
It's so
many
easy.
problems, and it's
So easy.
It's a great reminder.
Yes.
Oh, well, Greg, thank you so much for sitting
Sure.
down with me. I really enjoyed our conversation today.
I did too.
And I know other people are going to enjoy hearing your story. And I'm so thankful we have you here in Greenville. So
Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you very much.
You're
Dennisha.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for watching Heart of Greenville. This video series, which is designed to celebrate Greenville, Texas, is spearheaded by REMAX 3D Real Estate.